Hi, I'm Danny and these are my Diecast Disasters. In this video I'm going to be customizing one of my favourite cars ever, the Datsun 240Z. As this is a rally version of the car, I'm also going to be making a gravel road rally style diorama to go with it. This model is the Matchbox Speed Kings Datsun 240Z. It was produced from 1974 until 1981. This is the 77 to 79 version. The earlier one was yellow with a red bonnet, and the later version was green with a white bonnet. Taking a closer look at this example off the turntable, it's actually in pretty good nick. Mainly just the stickers are worn out. The paint job has a few chips here and there, a little bit of oxidation. The windscreen's in good nick. It's got a bit of a bend in it, but a lot of them seem to have that. I think it was just how they were produced. This model has an opening bonnet. There's a little plastic release tab underneath the car. A nice chromed motor inside there. Painted black underneath. Unfortunately it's got those terrible Speed Kings wheels on it, so hopefully I might be able to do something about those. The first step is to take the car apart. There's 2 rivets to drill out. Here you can see the mechanism to release the bonnet. I usually leave the plastic suspension tabs in these Speed Kings, but I'm going to have to take this one out. With the car taken apart, I can now strip the paint off with some poly stripper. Just remember to mask off the plastic suspension tab on the base, otherwise the stripper will melt it. And so here they are after paint stripping. You can see most of the paint is gone. I can now give them a tidy up with the wire brush and my rotary tool. This will get rid of the layer of oxidation you can see, and also any scraps of paint that are remaining. Any larger areas of paint that were left behind after the stripping can be easily removed with some steel wool. After I've cleaned them up, I give them a wash in some isopropyl and they're ready for painting. I start by painting the body of the car base coat of black. Next, the bonnet area is masked off, and then I paint the rest of it red. The bonnet of the car was also painted in the same black as the body. I've made some decals and printed them out on some white decal paper. I cut these out and put them on the body of the car. Here's the base. I'm just going to paint that black. And then I just bring out some of the details in it with some silver weathering powder. This is all fixed with a satin varnish. The interior next, I give it a wash in some hot soapy water. I then cut off the tow hook, as I don't really think a rally car will be needing a tow hook. Now there's not a hell of a lot of room inside this car, but I fabricate a roll cage nonetheless. I also add some racing harnesses. I gave this a base coat of black. And then I painted in a few small details, the racing harness and the floor of the interior in a metal colour. Onto the chromed parts. The first thing I do is to remove the chrome from them in some caustic soda and hot water. You can see how I do this in some of my other videos. And so here they are with all the paint removed. I next give them a base coat of black. And then detail the motor. And the bumpers are painted chrome. The windscreen was in great nick apart from one small crack at the rear and this dip in it. Now I tried heating it up and pushing the dip out and letting it cool half a dozen times. It just wasn't affecting it at all, so I think it's just a casting flaw from when the car was produced. Finally, taking a look at these old Speed Kings wheels. They're in good nick, but they're pretty horrible, so I'm going to replace them with these wheels off of another Speed King that had nicer wheels. They were a bit scuffed, so I re-blackened them with some spray paint. I just avoided spraying the rims. And so here are all of the parts of our Datsun 240Z rally car, refurbished, repainted and ready to go back together. But before we take a look at the finished car, let's take a look at how I made a cool gravel road rally diorama for it to go on. I start by bulking out the shape of my diorama with some extruded foam. You can see I'm going to make a gravel road corner section. I next made my road bed with some spackling filler. Just rub this on and smooth it out. Once this had dried after a few hours, I placed some plaster rocks that I've cast around the cliff face. These were glued in place using tacky glue. Here are my rocks in position. You can see I've also built up some more areas with the filler here and there to make some sort of rounded hills. Next, I filled in around all my rocks with a mixture of toilet paper and watered down PVA glue. You can just add it on in sheets like paper mache and it turns into a mush, and you can shape it how you like. The rocks were painted next in a mixture of black, red, brown and blue washes. Once the initial paint was dried, the rocks were given a dry brushing with some white paint. This helps to bring out the details on them. With the rocks done, I can move on and start painting the earth. I start with tan. And once this was fully dried, it was given a wash of burnt sienna. I also gave the gravel road bed a light airbrushing of grey paint. Now to add some soil texture, I begin by painting on some glue over the dirt areas. It's just a little bit watered down PVA glue. I then sprinkle on some dirt. This is just clay dirt that I've gathered from my garden and baked in the oven for an hour or so to fully dry it out. I then sieved it so that I only got the fine dirt. And here it is after the dirt has been applied. I also added some fine gravelly sand to the road bed. This was then all given a good soaking of scenic cement and left to set. I made this little fence here. I've tried to do it close to 1/43 scale. It's made out of balsa wood and some wire. I glue this in place on my diorama. Now to decorate the ground and make it look interesting, I start by painting on some glue. I'm not going to do too much of a big area at once. I sprinkle a few larger gravel stones around the edge of the road, and I add some rocks on this little hillock here. Next, I'm going to sprinkle on a layer of this knock scatter grass. It's very short, and this particular one's got little flowers mixed in with it. And here it is with our smaller rocks and scatter grass applied, and it's been left to dry well. Now to add the static grass. I'm going to start with some longer brown grass. I paint on some glue in patches where I'd like this to be. I'm focused around the fence line there as well. I then applied some longer brown grasses to these glue patches using my static grass applicator. If you notice, I've also used a little bit of tan coloured pastel to brush in some tyre lines in the road. Now to apply the main grass, I paint on the areas around my larger patches with some more glue. And I apply some shorter blends of static grass to this. I've mostly used this cattle pasture blend. Finally, I'm just going to add a few little bushes here and there. I'm using this clumping foliage. I've got a couple of different shades here that I'll add. It's just stuck on here and there with a little bit of tacky glue. And so with that, our gravel road rally diorama is pretty much done. So now at last we can take a look at our finished Datsun 240Z, but just before we do that, we'll take a moment to look back and be reminded of what we started with. A fairly scruffy looking example. It's got a chipped paint job and the stickers are starting to peel off. It's also got those lame looking Speed King wheels. So let's see what we can do with it. And here it is, our finished customized Matchbox Speed King's Datsun 240Z rally car. It's been repainted in a nice looking red and black paint job. It's had some fresh rally decals added. It's got some nice new wheels with decent rims on them. And it's been detailed, had the base repainted and the bumpers re-chromed. Personally, I'm really happy with the way this came out. Definitely one of my favourite projects to date. You can let me know what you think in the comments. And now I'll take some time to welcome all of my new subscribers and say a massive thanks to everyone for the awesome comments and likes on my videos. And as always, an extra special thanks to my awesome Patreon supporters. If you'd like to help support the channel as well, you can check out my Patreon page. There's a link in the description below. For those regular viewers who like my pictures at the end of the videos, if you have some of your own photos you'd love to see features as a background for one of the cars, you can send them in to my email. It's in the About section. Just remember, they have to be your own photos. You can't just download one from the internet. Thanks heaps for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe.